So my dear children, now within this chapter, we'll be discussing about the light dependent resistor. The third main type of resistor is the light dependent resistor. Now in light dependent resistors, according to the intensity of light received, according to the amount of light received, according to the intensity or the amount of light received by the surface, what happens here is that the resistance is going to change. Upon change in the resistance, you know that the current is also going to change, right? So here we'll be studying about the types of resistors. Under that, the third one, the light dependent resistor. So there are resistors that can change their resistance when light falls on them. The resistance changes with the change of light intensity. Intensity means the amount of light. Such resistors are known as light dependent resistors. So these are called as light dependent resistors or LDR. Figures show light dependent resistors. Now these figures are showing some light dependent resistors. So in a light dependent resistor, when light falls onto the surface, the resistance of the circuit could be changed if it is being connected to a circuit, right? So it's really simple structure. You can observe the light dependent resistor like this. So we'll be doing or we'll be connecting these light dependent resistors, right, in our next activity. So let's head on to see our activity then. So this is our activity. We are connecting, right? We are connecting a light dependent resistor to a circuit, right? We are connecting a light dependent resistor to a circuit. So materials, of course, you'll be needing an LDR, right? Then a bulb to check the brightness, then an ammeter or else a milliammeter, you'll be needing an ammeter or else a milliammeter, right? An ammeter or else a milliammeter. Then actually these things are called dry cells, right? We'll be needing dry cells, then a switch. And my dear children, I'll mention this one, but still it's not that much important, okay? If you are in a place where you can get good amount of light. So if you are in a place where you can get good amount of light, you will be not needing this thing. Which one? Torch or else a flashlight. Now you know that light dependent resistor is change in the resistance according to the amount of light which is getting received. So if you want, you can direct a flashlight, but however, if you have plenty of light in your room or whatever the place that you are going to stay, right? So at that place, if there are plenty of light, then you won't be needing this flashlight thing, because flashlight is needed to direct a good beam of light onto the surface of the LDR, right? So when I'm going to conduct the activity also, I'm not going to use that flashlight. It's because that in my laboratory, I have plenty of lights. Only thing I need is to decrease the intensity of light. So to decrease, you know that I can cover it by my hand. Right then. So these are the materials you want: LDR, bulb, ammeter or else a milliammeter, then a dry cell, then a switch. If you want a torch or else a flashlight. Okay then. So let's see how to conduct our activity. Construct the circuit connecting the bulb, milliammeter, the light dependent resistor, the switch and the dry cells as shown in the figure. So according to the figure, what you have to do? You have to first of all, you have to set the apparatus. Now this is the same way as we connected the rheostat. Only thing which is getting changed is the rheostat is getting replaced by the LDR. It's really simple. First, cover the light dependent resistor so that no light falls on it. Record the observations. Now, first of all, you have to cover it. Okay. Then we have to record the observations in the millimeter or the ammeter and the brightness of the bulb. Then remove the cover and let light in the environment falls on the light dependent resistor, record the observations, right? Now in the second one, what do you have to do? We have to let the light in our environment to fall. Now in my environment or in my laboratory, there are plenty of lights. So I'm not going to repeat the third step, but however, your place might different than me. So that's why, however, I kept this third or the final point. See? Next, light the electric torch and direct its light on the light dependent resistor. Record the observations and discuss the reasons for your observations. Now, in my place, it's useless to use a torch because I have plenty of lights. Okay. However, now, according to your place, that's going to change. So it's better to use a torchlight or else a flashlight if you are going to conduct the activity at home, right? So it's really simple, my dear children. This is the way of conducting the activity, right? So it's actually not 100% necessary to conduct or to get readings by directing a beam of light to it if you have plenty of light in your surrounding. Right then, so this is the way of conducting our activity, my dear children. Let's head on to the lab and we'll conduct our activity. And let's see how does the resistance is getting changed in an LDR. Okay, my dear children, now within this activity, we'll be observing how to connect an LDR to a circuit. And during the connection, we'll be observing how to change the resistance in order to change the current flow in a circuit by using this LDR. So this is the instrument which is referred as the LDR. It's a very small tiny device which can be used to control current or control resistance in a circuit by changing the amount of light obtained by the LDR. Okay, light dependent resistor. So first of all, I have galvanometer with me. You know that galvanometer is a type of an ammeter, right? Means that we can measure very small amounts of current. So I'm going to connect the two terminals of the LDR like this. LDR, the two terminals of the LDR like this. Okay. LDR now is facing towards the light. So it's receiving plenty of light right now. Then I have an LED with me. Instead of a torch bulb, I used LED because as there are several components around here, like there is a galvanometer, switches, then connecting wires, crocodile clips, like that way there are several things. No, so therefore if we are going to use a torch bulb, then the power which is given by these two dry cells will not be enough to light up. So thereby I'm going to use an LED in this process. So let's connect the LED. Right, so I have connected the system right now. Let's see how it is going to work. The positive terminal comes from here, goes to the switch, goes to the other terminal of the switch, come towards the LDR, come towards it's going to come towards the galvanometer, then through the bulb towards the negative terminal. So this is the flow of electrical charges. Now let's turn on the switch and we'll observe what's going to happen with the brightness of the LED plus with the reading of the galvanometer. Right. So as you can see, when I'm going to turn on the switch, the bulb is glowing right now. LED, the bulb showing a good brightness right now. The reading has reached to the maximum level and it's like greater than 30 milliamperes, greater than 30 milliamperes, and it is showing a good brightness at the LED as well, right? At the LED good brightness, and it's going over 30. So the LDR is receiving plenty of light. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover up the surface. See, current flowing through the circuit is going to drop down like up to 10 milliamperes, and the brightness of the bulb, see, the brightness of the bulb has got reduced. I'm going to remove my hand right now. See, brightness has got increased once again. Can you see that? It's pretty simple. If I'm going to cover the surface entirely like this, it's going to drop even down and there is very less amount of light. Once again, I'm going to open it. You can observe a good amount of light which is getting emitted. So here we can say that according to the amount of light which is received by the LDR, right, like this, the amount of current flowing through the circuit is also going to change. When I'm going to cover it down, you can see that, see, when I'm going to cover it down, you can see that the current flowing through the circuit is decreased gradually. It's because that when dark or when light intensity of the light is getting reduced around the environment, when less amount of light energy is received by the LDR, resistance is high. If there is high resistance, current flow is low. So that's why when I'm covering the LDR, right, like this, less amount of light in the LED and the reading is nearly now 0. When I'm going to open it, plenty of light is being obtained as the surface is exposed to the outer environment. So in that case, bulb is showing a good brightness, plus the reading of the ammeter or the galvanometer in here, it reaches to a maximum level. So once again, you can see that covering getting reduced, exposing getting increased. When I'm going to cover it, once again it is getting reduced. When I'm going to expose, it's going to increase. So this is the action of an LDR, my dear children. LDR can be used to change the current in a circuit by changing the resistance. So according to the amount of light received by the surface of the LDR or the light dependent resistor, the resistance is going to change. If we expose the surface to outer light very well, the resistance is very low and plenty of current is going to flow like this. If I am going to cover the surface like this, dark or the light intensity of light received by the LDR is very less. In that case, the resistance would get increased. If the resistance is getting increased, what will happen in this situation is the current is also going to reduce. Higher the resistance, lesser the current. So therefore, what will happen? The current will get reduced, reading comes back, and the brightness also is getting reduced. So this is how an LDR is going to work. So let's head on back to the classroom and write down our observations and conclusions from the activity. Okay, my dear children, now we conducted the activity and you could observe that when I'm covering the surface of the LDR, you can clearly observe the brightness of the bulb is getting reduced, and what happens with the ammeter reading, it also reduces, right? Milliammeter or the ammeter reading also going to reduce. So this is our first observation. When I'm going to expose it to the light in my environment, then in that case, you could see that reading of the milliammeter or the ammeter is getting increased and the brightness of the bulb is also getting increased. Okay, so it's really simple. We can say that LDR is changing the amount of resistance or the amount of current in us. Okay, here actually changing the resistance is going to change the current in it, right? So we can say that the LDR is changing the resistance, and by that way it is changing the current in the circuit. But by changing what factor? By changing the intensity of light, my dear children. When dark is going to fall, or when I'm going to cover the surface, less amount of light is going to fall on the surface. In that case, you could observe that the brightness is low. Okay. When I'm going to open, there is high brightness as the plenty of light is getting received by the surface of the resistor. So we can say that when the intensity of light is high, the resistance is low, therefore current flowing is high and the brightness is also high. When intensity of the light is low, right, not high, when the intensity is low, means that less amount of light is received or less amount of light is falling onto the surface. When less amount of light is falling onto the surface of the LDR, the resistance is very high. If the resistance is very high, current flowing is very low. If the current flow is low, brightness is reduced in the bulb. So this is our final conclusion from the activity. So let's write down our observation and conclusion, my dear children. So observation is quite simple. When covering the surface of LDR, this is the first one then. So what happens when covering? I'll use the eraser and erase the conclusion part. So what happens when covering the surface of LDR? What happens? Brightness of the bulb reduces, ammeter or milliammeter reading reduces. Brightness of the bulb reduces, right? Brightness of the bulb reduces. Then the next point, ammeter or the milliammeter. Ammeter or the milliammeter reading drops, right? It also drops, right? So this is the first observation. When covering the surface of LDR, brightness of the bulb reduces and ammeter or the milliammeter reading drops. Next one, number 2. Right, number 2, when exposing the surface of LDR. So when exposing the surface of LDR, right, when I'm going to expose it to the environment, what's going to happen? Number 1, brightness brightness of the bulb increases, right? Brightness of the bulb increases. Then second one, ammeter or the milliammeter reading ammeter or milliammeter reading increases. Both the brightness and the readings are going to increase, okay, when it is being exposed to the surface, right? When the surface is being exposed to the environment. So these are the two main observations that you can take, my dear children. In the first observation, when covering the surface of LDR, brightness of the bulb reduces and ammeter or the milliammeter reading will drop, right? It will drop for sure. And we conducted, you could also see that. When exposing the surface of LDR, brightness of the bulb increases and also ammeter milliammeter reading increases, right? So these are our observations, right? These are our observations. So my dear children, let's see what is our conclusion from the activity. I'm going to mention only the observation here in here. So the conclusion is way more expressed in the next slide, my dear children. So here, when light falls on the light dependent resistor, its resistance decreases, right? So see, when light falls on light dependent resistor, when light is going to fall on the light dependent resistor, its resistance decreases. Resistance is going to decrease. Therefore, current flowing through the circuit increases. Therefore, the current flowing through the circuit is going to increase. When the intensity of light falling increases, the resistance decreases. Therefore, current flowing through the circuit increases further. So, it depends on the intensity of light received by the surface. When increasing the intensity of light, the resistance of the LDR gradually decreasing. When increasing the intensity, resistance decreases. Hence, the light dependent resistor can be used to control the electric current flowing through a circuit. Now, means that we can change the current in a circuit, right? It's really simple. We can change the current flowing through a circuit by changing the intensity of light received by the LDR. If you are connecting an LDR to a circuit. In reverse, when light intensity reduces, resistance in the LDR increases. Therefore, current flow decreases. So, this is how an LDR is going to work with, right? This is how an LDR is going to work with, my dear children, right? So, this is the final and the third type of resistors, the light dependent resistors. So, we got a good knowledge about the types of resistors, and even we connected those resistors to different circuits. First, we studied about permanent resistors, then about the variable resistors, then finally about the light dependent resistors. So, this is the second current controlling component. The first one was switches, then the resistors. So, my dear children, that's all about with the current controlling components then. Okay. Now, let's head on to see what are the other contents in our lesson. Right, now in this part, we'll be discussing soldering tools. Now, we discussed about several electrical equipments, instruments now. So, when you are making circuits, you have to install these equipments or instrument into a circuit board. There is a circuit board, and onto this circuit board you have to place these each of instruments. Let's take a resistor, a bulb, LED. So all of these things should be fixed to a certain board, a circuit board. So in this part we'll be discussing how to solder these instruments onto a circuit board. Right. So have you ever constructed an electrical circuit? In those instances, what is the method you use to connect the components to the circuit? So when I was in your age, my best hobby was making different circuits. In that time period, we haven't got any computers or mobile phones, tablets, right? So when I was in your age, I was constructing different types of circuits. There are circuit boards which are available in the commercial market. So on that circuit board, you can solder different types of bulbs, other equipments like motors, speakers, right? And there are different equipments like capacitors, diodes, resistors, integrated circuits, transistors. Like that way there are several components. So all of these components should be fixed to a circuit board. By that way it's going to emit a light or else play a music. Like that way different occasions or different types or different circuits can be made. Okay, so when I was in your age, my hobby was doing that. So I have a personal experience in doing these things. So I hope that you guys also follow the same method. It's way more interesting. But however, make sure to be very safe, because over there we are using an electrical component or electrical instrument called the bulb, the soldering bulb, right? So it's very hot. You have to plug it to electricity and it's becoming hot, so that the lead is getting melted and pasted on the PCB board, okay, or the electric circuit board. Okay, so my dear children, I hope that you also make a good circuit at your home, a simple circuit, right? Don't go for the bigger ones, just start from 2 bulbs one, right? There are several 2 bulb circuits which can be bought from the market under very small prices, right? So you try to make those circuits by using electric bulb and some lead. When you are doing that thing, when you are soldering, be very careful. Okay, right then. So I have a personal experience in constructing electrical circuits. So in these instances, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a piece of lead. Lead is a special kind of a metal that has very low melting point. So upon heating, it melts and it's going to paste on the circuit board, fixing that instrument to the board. So here, most probably you may have used a type of adhesive tape. So if you don't have any experience, then you are going to use a type of a tape, a cello tape or else an adhesive tape, but it's not going to work, right? Sometimes the joints are not properly contacted when adhesive tapes are used. Then the circuit does not work properly. As a solution to those problems, the joints are soldered when components of circuits are assembled. So like I said, using duct tapes or any other types of tapes like double tapes, cello tape, whatever, using adhesive tapes are not a convenient method to connect electrical components. What you have to do is you have to solder those things, right? So by that way only you can get a good, right? By that way only you can get a good, or you can make a good circuit. So those terminals should be interconnected very well, right then. So in this figure, you can observe that electric bulb, the soldering tool, this is called as the electric bulb. Then the soldering lead, these things are available as strings. okay, somewhat thicker one and somewhat thinner ones, right? Thicker ones have high cross-sectional area, thinner ones have less cross-sectional area. Then the soldering process. You need to place that lead string on the PCB board or the circuit board. Then after that you have to place the bulb near it and you have to melt it down and paste on the component. So you are given it here. A tool shown in figure A is used for soldering. When electricity is applied to the tip of this tool, it gets heated. Tip of this tool gets heated. So the melted soldering lead is applied to the joints of the circuit. Then joints are firmly connected by soldering lead and are not disconnected. So this lead is going to hold, right, the component with the electric circuit board, right? So lead is going to help to fix that component to the electric circuit board by melting, right? By melting and allowing it to cool, we are fixing the component to the circuit board. So this is how the soldering is going to work. Each and every circuit boards are made up like this way, right? Each and every circuit board is made up like this way. So my dear children, let's head on to the lab and let's see how this soldering process is going to work. Right, my dear children, now I have with me a bulb. So this is referred as the bulb. Now I have connected this thing to electricity, right? Below by, I mean like it has a plug. So I have connected it to electricity so that it would heat up. So this would heat up in order to produce heat energy. And I have a small bit of a circuit with me. So these terminals over here are the ones which are referred as lead. So these are lead. So we use lead to fix these instruments to a circuit. So it would firmly fit on lead. Okay. So to melt lead, we can use the bulb in here. So now I have melted some, right? I have melted some lead. See, here you can observe I can melt it by using the bulb. See, it's going to melt down. So I'm going to show you how to connect this wire into my circuit in here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to melt this thing down by keeping the bulb. So like this. So if you have lead, then the action would be much easier. But I can show it to you. Most of the times we'll be using fresh new lead. So like that way, see, it's been fixed to the circuit right now. See, you have to break it down and take it out, right? So once again, I can show it to you. See, I'm going to take this one. I'm going to melt this and keep it on the surface. Right, my dear children. Now, when you are using these instruments, be very careful because, see, so like that I can heat up. So like this is connected in a wire, no? So we can use this bulb in order to remove objects as well. So there is an LED here. I'm going to remove this LED by keeping it like this. And you just need to keep it like that way. And after the lead is going to melt up, pull it like this. See? So if you want to fix it back, what you have to do, insert it like this and get some lead and keep 2 dots like these into the terminal. So you can remove instruments by using the both, plus you can solder instruments or electrical components to a circuit like this, right? So this is the soldering equipment which is referred as the electric bulb, right? Then so let's head on to the classroom once again and we'll observe what are the other things contained within our lesson. So my dear children, I hope that you got a good knowledge about soldering these equipments onto a circuit board. So that's a way of soldering an equipment to a circuit board. The electric bulb can also be used in order to remove soldered equipment or component from the circuit board also. So I have removed that LED to show you the way of removal, right? So this is how you fix the component to a circuit board. Special thing to remember, very special thing to remember, my dear children, is that remember, always remember, right? It should go to your brain very well. Please remember when this thing, when if you are using a soldering tool, electric bulb at your home. So tip of the soldering tool gets highly heated. The things close by may burn, and therefore soldering tools should not be kept on the things that are damaged by the heat. Okay, that includes your body parts as well. So don't keep your hand near to it. So this equipment should be very carefully handled. So this should be very carefully handled, right? It's best to get the guidance of your parents if you are using these things at home, right? Then so that's all about with fixing components to a circuit board, my dear children. So let's see what are the other contents in our lesson. So in this part, we'll be discussing about household electrical appliances. Household electrical appliances. So when I was talking about these household electric appliances, you already know what are these things. Household electric appliances are the electric appliances that we used in our houses in different occasions to make our work easy. For entertainment, we use the radio, television, household electric equipments. To get light, we use light bulbs, household electrical equipments, right? So the refrigerator, then the electric iron, rice cookers, air conditioners, all of these things are considered as household electrical components or appliances. These things are used in houses to make our work easy. To cook rice, we use a rice cooker. It's far more easier to cook rice from the rice cooker, right? To heat water, we use the heater. So rather than using a kettle, it's way more efficient. Very quickly we can make our water heat, right? Then after that, to keep or to protect or to preserve food, we use refrigerator. Then like that way, to get entertainment, we use televisions, radios, hi-fi setups, computers. Like that way, there are several equipments or household electrical appliances that we use in our day-to-day life. So it's given that here, my dear children, electricity is very important for various day-to-day work. Electricity is one of the ways used to gain energy. So we know that already. Without the electricity, how our works are going to delay, right? Now during the night time, if the electricity is going to come down or if the electricity is getting down, then it would be a terrible situation for us, right? We can't even study, we can't even watch our televisions, right? We can't even eat. How can we eat if there is no electricity? I mean, like, we can eat, but however, if there is no light, right? If there is no light, then difficulty in having our dinner. So my dear children, electricity is a very important factor in doing our day-to-day works. So electrically powered equipment can be used to ease our work. Ease means to make our work easy and do it efficiently and economically. Those electrically powered equipment are known as electrical appliances. So the electrically powered or the ones which are going to use electricity to do works which are used in our homes are referred as electrical appliances. Okay. So for your attention, once again another important facts are given. Let's see. Voltage in volts. Voltage in volts that should be supplied, and the power in watts. Power is in watts. Actually, power means the amount of electrical or whatever the type of energy used by a certain instrument. As we are discussing about household electrical appliances here. Okay. Here, these appliances are using electrical energy. So, therefore, power of an household appliance means the amount of electrical energy used by that particular equipment within 1 second of a time period. Within 1 second of a time period, how much of electrical energy is being used? Energy is measured from joules, no? You already know that thing. So, 1 watt means 1 joules per second, means that this instrument, right? If this instrument has 1 watt of a power, it means it's going to consume, it's going to convert 1 joule of electricity to a different kind of form of energy within 1 second of a time period. In simple, I'm going to keep it like this. If the electrical appliance has 1 watt of a power, then that electrical appliance is going to consume 1 joule per 1 second. Per each second, it's going to consume 1 joule. Then for 60 seconds, 60 joules. For 1000 seconds, 1000 joule. Like that way. So this joules per second unit is mentioned as watt. We are mentioning this thing especially as watts. So 1 watt means 1 joules per second. So you are given the voltage in volts that should be supplied and the power in watts of an appliance at that voltage is mentioned on it. If a voltage higher than that is mentioned, is supplied, the appliance will be damaged. Now most of the times, if you take a certain type of a electrical appliance, the voltage is printed on it with the watt value of it or the power like this 230 volts, 25 watt. So this means this electrical instrument should connect to a potential difference of 230 volts only. That's the maximum amount of voltage that it can bear, and the power consumed or the power of the electrical appliance is 25 watt, means that it's going to consume 25 joules within 1 second of a time period. So this is about the watt value of a certain electric appliance and the voltage of it. Right then. So you are given with an assignment. Let's see. List out the electrical appliances used in your home and in your school. Tabulate those appliances according to their use. So here, first of all, we'll identify what are the columns. First, the use. Use is lighting. Lighting is the first use. Next one, name of the appliance. What are the appliances that we can use to light? Then voltage. Then after that, the power. Okay, power. So there are, especially in nowadays, there are two main lighting. So I'm going to complete this thing. I'm going to complete out this thing. Okay. So my dear children, before I'm going to complete, it's better you go here and there in your home. Check about the bulbs that you have at your home. If you want, you can go to a different house as well. Check the bulbs that they have at their home. If you can remove it and observe how much is the voltage and how much is the watt value of it. Okay. Like if those things have covers which have been stored in a different kind of a place, then without removing those bulbs, you can observe the cover of it, right? The plastic or the cardboard cover of it. Bulbs are usually coming on a cardboard cover, no? So you can check that cardboard cover. So by that way, you can find out the watt value plus the voltage. Okay. So before I'm going to conduct this, or before I'm going to write down the answers for these things, it's better that you go here and there around somewhere, right, and find out several bulbs and calculate there. No need to calculate, that the thing is in there already. So you get the values of all the voltage and the watt values. Then by that way, you can come into a certain conclusion. Which one is going to consume more electricity and which one is going to consume less type of electricity, right? So now I'm going to do, and I'm going to fill my table. So most of the times for lighting, we use nowadays either Cfl bulb or else an LED bulb. Okay. And also we use a type of a bulb which is called as the filament bulb. It has a filament. And when electricity is passing through the filament, it glows. The filament is going to glow and emit light. Filament bulbs, right? Those are the bulbs which are emitting a light yellow color brightness, or light yellow color light. Right then, so we'll write down our appliance. So LED. Voltage is usually 230 in each and every LED bulbs, each and every other types of bulbs, no matter the type of bulbs. At your home, you are connecting it into a direct supply of voltage, no? So the maximum possible voltage received at your home is 230 volts. I even explained this thing at the earlier lesson when I was discussing about the measurements related to electricity part, right? So in each and every household electrical equipment at your home, right, they have been prepared or they've been made to bear 230 volts of current maximum, 230 volts of potential difference maximum, right? Then the power. Normally LED bulbs are available in different types of powers like 8 watts, 5 watts, 15 watts, 25 watts and so on, right? Normally we use 15 to 12 watt values. 18 is also there, but however usage of 18 watts is really, it's very rare. In order to light up a certain good larger environment, we use 18 watt bulbs, okay, LED bulbs. So usually it's around 12 to 15 watts, 12 to 15 watts. So I'll mention as 12 to 15 watt. So 12 watt to 15 watt. That's the usual one. So as we are using 18 watts in some cases, so I'll mention 18. Right? 12 watts to 18 watts in our veranda, right? If you in your houses, in veranda area, most probably we are using 18 watt LED bulbs because that area is somewhat wider. So we need to provide good amount of light energy in order to cover the whole area. So in that case, there are some instances that we might need to use 18 watt of LED. Then next one, Cfl bulbs. Cfl bulbs like this way. There are certain patterns like this way, Cfl bulbs. Right? There's a spring-like structure like this, Cfl bulbs. Okay? Compact fluorescent light, CFL. Compact fluorescent light, CFL. So CFL bulbs, right? So usually CFL bulbs are available in different watt values like the LED bulbs. But however, children, if you take CFL bulbs are going to start at least from 25 and up to 100. There are values from 25 to 100. Okay, there are even more lesser CFL bulbs as well, but however, normally, yeah, in our houses we use like up to 25 to 100. 100 is the maximum possible one. There are way more maximum possible CFL bulbs that can that uses like 650, 700 watt, but we don't use those things at our houses. Normally we use from 25 to 100 watt. Okay. Then the third one is filament bulbs. Filament bulbs. Filament bulbs are usually starting from 50 watt to 100 watt. Right? Actually, using there are 25 watt filament bulbs as well. But however, using these 25 watt filament bulbs are useless. Very less amount of light energy is given. So in order to light up a room very well, you have to use at least 75 watt. At least 75 watt of a filament bulb. In order to light up your living room, then you have to use at least 100 watt of a filament bulb. 100 watt. Right? 100 watt of a filament bulb. So that's the filament bulb, my dear children. By looking at these things, you can see that it's good to use an LED bulb. Why is that? Because LED bulb is having a less amount of power. Less power means less amount of electrical energy is being used within unit time period. So the wastage of electricity is very less. Okay, when compared to other types of bulbs. Filament bulbs are the worst kind of bulbs. I mean, worst means they are like eating electricity. They are wasting too much of electricity. Okay, so it's better to avoid, or it's better to, I mean, like, at least we have to minimize the use of filament bulbs. It's very wise to use LED bulbs in your lighting systems, right? In your houses also, because that's going to save a lot of money from your parents. Right then. So these are the lightings. Right. Then let's see what are the other things given. Right. Then for cooking. For cooking, I am going to write down two instruments. I'm going to write down two instruments for cooking. For cooking purposes, mainly we use the rice cooker. So we can write first one, rice cooker. Then the second one is hot plate. Hot plate or induction cookers, right? Hot plate or induction cookers. here a plate is getting heated and we can place whatever the vessel over it and we can heat it, right? Electricity is getting consumed over there. Hot plate. Then there are other different kinds of instruments like the toasters, right? Beaters, like that way there are several instruments. But however, most often we use the rice cooker and the hot plate. So the watt values, you know that no matter whatever the electrical instrument, we use 230 volts because these things are plugged into our normal domestic electric circuits. So if you take the power of these things, the power of a rice cooker is around 800 watt to 1600, right? There are way more bigger rice cookers that use more electrical energy as well, but however, in our houses, now we are discussing about household electrical appliances, no? So in our houses, we don't use like those kinds of heavy rice cookers. We use like some kind of a smaller ones. So on those ones which we use in our day-to-day activities in our houses, the watt value is like around 800 to 1600. Then the hot plates. My dear children, the thing is that in hot plates, it's going to differ according to the number of plates in it. Okay. But however, each and every hot plates are going to start around from 1000 to 2000, right? There are like 600 to 800 as well, but however, I'm mentioning about somewhat several hot plates that we used in our day-to-day activities to do our work easy. Okay, so at least this watt value around 1000 to 2000 in these hot plates. Then in some different cases there might be watt values even way more rather than these values, like it can be like 2.4 kilowatts, 2.5 kilowatts, 2.4, 2.5 kilowatt means, you know what do you mean by the kilo thing, right? Kilo means the 1000. So kilowatt means 1000 of watts, right? So 2.5 kilowatt means 2500 watts. Okay, right? So you can see that using a rice cooker and when using a hot plate, large amount of electricity is getting wasted. As you can see, the watt value is very high in these instruments. Then air conditioning. In air conditioners, there are different types of air conditioners. Okay, there are different types of air conditioners. So first type of air conditioner is non-inverter air conditioner. Inverter technology, a good new technology that came recently for the world. Inverter technology. In inverter technologies, we can save a lot of electricity. Inverter technology, special kind of a technology developed in recent years. So, recent year means, or in older times, there was no inverter. So, there are non-inverter air conditioners, non-inverter ones. So, you know that we need to plug it into 230. And there are inverter technology. Inverter technology air conditioners. Normally, these things are going to use about 2000 watts to 5000. But however, if you take inverter, it's around 1000 to 2500. Thing is that, my dear children, according to the size and the necessity of the air conditioner, these values might change. I'm just talking about simpler air conditioners. Okay, if you are using very large air conditioners like to like in a hall, right, or in a larger hall, ceremonial hall, and if you are using an air conditioner which can be applied to a certain large room, so in that case these values might change. I have written down the average values. Okay, so see how much is the difference when you are using an inverter one with the non-inverter. So in an uninverter one, the value start from 2000 watt, but however in an inverter one it's working with only 1000 and going to finish up around 2500. So lots of energy can be saved when you are using this inverter technology air conditioners. These things are again available as for the refrigerators as well. Refrigerators with inverter technology, refrigerators with non-inverter technology. Inverter technology refrigerators are like to consume about 600 to 750, right? That kind of an electricity, a heavier one, right? Heavier one means like you can apply like 300 to 200 liters of any kind of an item within that refrigerator. Okay, inverter ones like a maximum up to 700 watt. But however, if you take a refrigerator that a non-inverter one with the same capacity as 300 liters, it's going to consume about 800-900 watts. Okay, refrigerators also in day-to-day life, our life, right? I mean, like these manufacturers are going to use inverter technologies, right? Inverter technologies and non-inverter technologies. So in day-to-day life, when we are using refrigerators, there can be inverter ones and non-inverter ones. Go and check your refrigerator or air conditioner, check whether it is an inverter or non-inverter one, right? If it is an inverter one, then my dear children, your refrigerator or the air conditioner is going to save lots of electricity, right? Then the next one is given communication. For communication we use different, right? We use different types of telephones, right? We use different types of telephones. So we can write not the mobile phones, telephones, right? Telephones. Telephones. Then plug into 230. Watt value is around 75 watt. And there are even lesser ones as well, like 20, 25, 50. Okay. So I'll mention a range, that would be great, no? So watt value is around like 20 to 75 watt nearly. Telephones. Okay. Very less amount of electricity is used. Then the next one is other. Here you have to mention the reason. So we'll use the most easiest ones that we used in our day-to-day life. Okay, the television, radio. So both the television and radio, we use these things for our entertainment, right? Right, to get entertainment. It's really simple. So I don't have to write it down, the use. For entertainment, we use radio and television. Then voltage is, you know, this is 230. In a radio, my dear children, specialty is that these are not being printed on the usual radios in nowadays. All of these things are made up to 230 volts. But however, there are some radios, smaller ones, which are flexible for 115 volts as well. So I'll mention these things as 115 to 230 volts. This 115 can be observed in way more old radios, like in 2000 period, 2002, 2003, 2005, like that way, right? At the beginning of the 20th century, like 2000s, right? At that time period, the manufacturers have prepared radios which can suit up to 115 volts to 230. So how can we change the voltage value? I mean, like, if it is in 115, now if you plug that thing into our normal plug sockets, the radio will burn out, as our plug sockets are providing 230 of volts. Normally, usually, like in countries Japan, they're going to use 115 of volts, right? So at that earlier time period, the radios which were prepared were imported from Japan. Normally, now in these days also, if the instruments are imported from Japan, most of the times they may printed 115 volts, then the other side 230 volts, right? So there is a small bit of a switch at the back end of the radio. You can insert a screwdriver and you can move it here and there, right? So if you move it to 230 position, then the voltage is adjusted to 230 interior in the radio. By screwing it downward, you can place the switch into 115 volts. So like that way, there is a possibility to change the voltage in some kinds of radios, not all, but some. So I have mentioned in here 115 to 230. Okay, but remember, our household electric circuit is going to provide 230 volts. So it's really important to turn that switch to 230 before plugging it into our normal household electrical circuits. Remember it. So television power is around 75 watt to 125 watt. Especially here televisions, there are several types. I'll be mentioning LED televisions. LED televisions, okay. There are other types of televisions as well. CRT televisions, the televisions that has a big back, right? It's very large and very heavy. CRT televisions. Cathode ray tubes. CRT. Cathode ray tube televisions, right? In the cathode ray televisions, there is a larger screen like this, and on that screen there are small bit of tubes which are running, and over the tubes some kind of a particle is going to run, right? So that tube is going to light up, providing light energy. That's how these CRT screens are going to work. So by that way we can get information or get pictures with several colors on that screen. That's how the CRT televisions work. Okay, CRT televisions. And there are other types of televisions. CRT televisions were the basic types of televisions. So they were the first televisions which came to our world. After that came LCD televisions. Liquid crystalline display. A liquid is there. By touching it, you can observe there is a liquid moving here and there. So that liquid is the one which is responsible in generating color pictures. So it's not that much heavy. You can lift it quite easily. Not that much heavy. LCD televisions. Then after that, in recent years, LED televisions were invented. So those things are very lightweight, and the electrical energy used by those televisions are very less, right? So LED televisions, what value is like this. Okay then. So radio in a radio, it's like 15 watt, my dear children. 15 watt. So I have prepared the table. So these are according to my knowledge and these are according to my experience. So I hope that you will find out more details about these electrical appliances, right? Find out even more types of electrical appliances that you use in your day-to-day life. Get their watt values and see how much is the watt value. Lower the watt value, more efficient and more electricity can be saved. Remember that. So always when you are selecting a certain item, make sure to get a less watt value one. It would save good money for you. Right then, so let's see what are the other contents in our lesson. So my dear children, in this part we'll be discussing selection of an appliance to suit the need. Now, specialty is that the earlier case I told you that these electrical instruments, they use different amounts of electricity, different amount of electrical energy in different occasions. Okay, so when we are using these household electrical circuits, we should be very careful. Now let's imagine that we are, because of less price, right, because of the less cost, initial cost, we are using filament bulbs to light up our houses. So I'm going to take you to that previous slide once again, where we have lightings in here. So if you take an LED bulb, it's going to cost you around rupees 500. Okay, it's going to cost you around 500. Cfl bulb, this is a rough value which may change according to your need. Okay, Cfl bulb around 350. I don't know the new prices, my dear children. However, new prices may change. These are somewhat like older prices, right? So this is just, I'm going to give you some kind of some kind of an idea. These values might change. Okay, filament bulb is around 100 rupees. So you can see that there is way more different in the initial cost, right? I mean, like, you can buy 5 filament bulbs when you are buying 1 LED bulb, right? So you can buy like 2 Cfl bulbs, right? But for the same price, you can buy only 1 LED. There's a small bit of a change, but however, for the price of 2 Cfl bulbs, you can buy only 1 LED bulb. But you can buy 7 filament bulbs. So initial cost is very low. So you might think filament bulbs are good and you will use filament bulbs to light up your house. Such a waste, because that money which you are going to save in the first day is being spent within 3 to 5 days, my dear children, if you are going to operate a filament bulb in your house. Check the watt values. Filament bulbs, I told you that in order to light up our house by using a filament bulb, at least our room, right, at least a room, we have to use maximum 200, or else minimum value that you can use is at least 50. So 50 watt means 4 of the bulbs in LED. To light up a room, 12 watt LED is plenty enough. I told you that to light up a veranda, we can use that 18 watt bulbs. In a living room, we can use 18 watt bulbs, LED. And the other thing is that the lifetime. So my dear children, specialty here is that, okay, the power which is being used by one single filament bulb is equal to 4 LED bulbs. So if you are thinking only about the initial cost, then in the long run, you are going to lose lots of money, right? So I'm comparing with the filament with the LED. So LED has a high initial cost, but however, it is going to save large amount of money for you in the long run. And the second most important thing, filament bulbs are having like very less amount of lifetime. It's around 100 to 500 hours. Lifetime is around 100 to 500. It depends. Okay, it's going to change. I'm not going to say that these filament bulbs are going to exactly burn out at 500 hours. It's not like that, right? I mean, like, it's going to change. It's going to depend according to the conditions and according to the state of the bulb. However, in average, they can be used up to like 100 to 500 hours. But if you take an LED bulb can be used up to 2000 of hours to 20,000 hours. From 2000 hours to 20,000 hours. Actually, it can be used even more than that. And we can even repair it. By giving out a small cost, by giving a small price, we can even repair it if there is a fault. But in these, can you repair? No, you can't. Can't repair at all. You have to replace it. And it can be used up to like 20,000 hours. So one single bulb can be used for like several years. But in here, you can use it for only few months. So it's going to save you huge amount of money, right? So don't think about the initial cost. We have to think it the long way, the long run. So LED bulbs are the more efficient and energy saving ones among all of these instruments. So my dear children, now we are coming back to the next slide, which is in here. Here we are discussing about how to use our electric appliances conveniently and how to select these instruments. So under that, you are given number 1, selection of an appliance to suit the need. When reading books at night, you can use a table lamp with a bulb of 5, 10 instead of 40-watt bulb. Now 40-watt bulb means a filament bulb. Instead of that filament bulb, you can use a simple bit of an LED bulb like 5-watt. Same amount of light is given out. But however, the energy consumption is very less. A rice cooker of 240 700 watt is suitable to cook rice for a few people, and a rice cooker of 240 2000 watt is suitable to cook rice for a group. So I told you that there are several rice cookers. Okay, so there are several rice cookers. 240 is the maximum voltage. So you know that in our houses normally we are receiving 230, right? So this 700 watt rice cookers, those things are the ones which are convenient in our houses. That's why I told you that rice cookers are they are available in several sizes. According to size, the power is getting changed. So if there are a large amount of people, like if we are using this 2000 watt 240 rice cooker, right? For 6-7 people, you can cook rice. Okay. So according to the need, we have to select the electrical appliance. If there are a few people, then we have to use the convenient one, which is the 700 watt one. Otherwise, the electricity is getting wasted. Next one, selection of an efficient appliances. So here 5 watt, 10 watt, 100 watt bulbs can be observed. So this one is a filament bulb. See, 100 watt filament. This is also a filament bulb, 5 watt. This one, my dear children, is an LED bulb. This is an LED bulb. If you check 100 one and this one, the brightness would be somewhat closer to each other. Actually, that 100 watt filament bulb is having some kind of like up to a certain extent only greater brightness than the 10 watt LED. But however, their brightnesses are somewhat similar. But that one having a somewhat larger one, but very closer to being similar. The efficiency of appliances is indicated on them. So, selection, right? Thus, it is suitable to select more efficient appliances. Cfl of 240, Then 15 watt gives an intensity of light equal to filament bulb of 260 watt, or LED 240 11 watt. So that's what I have told you in the earlier case also. I think you could remember, right? Therefore, it is suitable to use 240 15 watt of CFL or 240 11 watt of LED instead of the other. So instead of using these filament bulbs, it's really going to eat electricity, not eating electricity. So it's better to use CFL or LED. LED is the best option. Okay, right then. Then safe usage of appliances so that user and the others are out of danger. Some examples are given below. Now when you are using or when you are selecting these household electrical equipments, we have to think about the safety of the people that we are going to use it, right? So in that case, we have to use or you have to follow these things. Let's see. It is suitable to use electrical appliances away from water taps, places of leaking water, hearths and fire. So we need to keep away electrical instruments definitely from water and hearths and from fire. So it's important to keep away these instruments from those things. Okay. The next one. Test whether the connecting wires are damaged before using the appliance. So if the wires are damaged, my dear children, then there might be cases that the electricity will leak, or else if you are going to touch that wires from your bare hands, there might be a possibility that you may get electric shock. Okay, so first of all, before using these instruments, we have to check whether the connecting wires are damaged or they are not, they are in well condition. Okay. Refrain from wrong practices when connecting plug tops to plug bases. You know that if there is a 2-pin plug, we like inserting one to the upper top one, the earth one, and we are rotating it, and like this way we are inserting. It's not wise to do that thing at all. So when you are inserting 2-pin plugs, it's better to use a pencil or else a pen to lower that 2 pins by inserting the pen or pencil towards the earth wire over the plug base. Okay, so when you are inserting 2-pin plugs, especially to your 3-pin plug bases, please follow those steps. Take a pencil or else a pen, then insert to that top part, then insert the plug as you need. Okay, so remember to follow up these things, my dear children, otherwise there would be a harm. Right then. Number 4 given, usage of household electric circuit and appliances without damaging them. Household electric circuits may short circuited when they are being used. Then the circuit may fuse and the components may be damaged. Therefore, care should be taken before using electrical appliances. So you know that we are plugging these things into high voltage. When we are working with these things, there might be a possibility that electric leak would happen, a shock may occur. So in that cases, these wires will get fused together. So my dear children, it's important to check their condition before you are going to insert it. If they are very old, right? If they are pretty much old, make sure to repair it or else to remove it. Okay. It is not suitable to use several high power electrical appliances when they are connected to the same socket, right? For instance, when several appliances like electric iron, refrigerator, electric ovens, washing machines and grinder are connected to the same socket and it draws a large current from the household electric circuit. This causes heating of the connecting wires. As a result, they can catch fire. Usage of such a high current is called overloading, right? So when you are using electrical appliances by using a multi-plug, okay, now you know that in our houses we use a multi-plug. So by using a multi-plug, we can connect several electrical appliances to a one single circuit, one single plug pane. right? So but the thing is that it's okay to use a simple radio, television, then a router, then a telephone. It's okay to use those kinds of stuff to a one single plug pin. But however, like if you are using a rice cooker, a refrigerator, a grinder, then a mixture, then a hot plate, like that, if you are using electrical equipments or electrical appliances that use heavy amount of electricity, like in the heating cases, I told you that in heating equipments, the electricity consumed is very high. Rice cooker around 700 watt, refrigerator around 700 to 600 watt. And the air conditioners, when using those types of electrical instruments like the hot plates, refrigerators, right? Don't plug all of these things into a one single plug pin. Don't use multi plugs for those things, because those things are going to draw out large amount of electric current and electricity, as the power consumption is very high. So it's wise to use separately, right? So if you are going to use these things are having high amount of electric resistance, there might be a possibility that the wires may burn out in the multi-plug and sometimes in the electrical appliance as well upon heating, right? So such a way or such a thing is called, if large amount of electric current is drawn in out from one single electric pin or plug pin, so that thing is referred as overloading. So during an overload, the wires may get burned out. Okay, so it's not wise to use heavy amount of electric current joined together. It's okay to use in televisions, normal radio, speakers, right? For those kind of things, it's okay. But however, if you are using heavy instruments that use heavy instruments means here instruments that use heavy amount of electrical current. So in that cases, it's wise to use those things separately. Don't plug those things in a same plug pin by using a multi-plug. Okay, right then. So these are the special things that we need to follow when you are selecting or when we are using these household electrical appliances. Right then. So in the next page, you are given with several types of bulbs. So this is called as the LED bulb. This is the Cfl bulb, and over there, this is called the tube bulb. Tube bulbs, actually tube bulb is the normal name that we give, right? The scientific name is called, or scientific name goes as the fluorescent tube. Fluorescent, right? Fluorescent tube. So tube bulb or the fluorescent tube, the Cfl bulbs, and the LED bulbs. Okay, so these are the rice cookers. The normal rice cooker that we used in our houses, 700 watt, 700 to 800. And the larger rice cookers, right, starting from 1000 to way more than that. Okay, then the refrigerators, inverter ones and non-inverter ones. And for the air conditioners also, these things are getting applied, inverters and non-inverters. Better to use inverter ones instead of non-inverters, right? So these are the selections, different types of household electrical appliances that's going to consume large amount of electricity and less amount of electricity. But however, according to our need, we should have an ability to select the needful electrical equipment to our house. Right, my dear children. So I hope that you got a good knowledge about selecting these household electrical appliances. Right then. So that's all about with the household electrical appliances then. So in the next chapter, we'll be discussing other things related to our lesson. Right. I'll meet you with the next chapter to discuss other things related to our lesson, like heating effect of a electric current and chemical effect and so on. So I'll meet you on the next chapter to discuss those things.